Chapter 71, King's Capital. 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The atmosphere of this place is very different from anything I've experienced. I spoke in a low voice. Unlike the territory of Scathach that I didn't explore much, the capital had a very strange climate. The place, despite being well lit, had areas that were totally dark, and, although it looked safe, I could feel danger in the air. The place was elegant, and at the same time old-fashioned. I could even see several vampires walking the streets in modern clothes. The capital was a mixture of ancient architecture and inhabitants with modern habits. The capital was a contradiction in terms. It was chaotic. But at the same time, it was beautiful. I think this is what happens when vampires create a society. As they are an immortal race, they see no need to change structures and, because of that, there are old structures, but as they need to live in society, they had to modernize and not get stuck in the past. It was strange. The city was very strange. I won't deny that fact, but it was interesting. What are you looking at? Fuck off, I look to the side and see Violet threatening some women. TSK. That's why I don't like to go out. These idiots keep looking at me like I'm a rare animal or something. Lakis complained. I look around and see that several vampires are looking at the group with curious eyes. Still, even though they are watching the girls, the vampires are focusing their attention on Scathach, Eleanor, Violet, Sasha, and Ruby, and surprisingly, I was attracting the attention of female vampires. That's why Violet was so irritated with women. Hey, aren't they? Yes, they are. It looks like they came to see the games too. But who is this man? That I could also see that some men were looking with lecherous eyes at the girls. They were trying to hide it because they noticed Scathach in the group, but even though they tried to hide it, I didn't like it. I felt an irritating feeling in my heart. It was as if someone was lusting after something that is mine. My blood cried out for retaliation. I start to clap my hands. When I got their attention, I said. Disappointing that when they meet my gaze, they seem to freeze. Is that what vampires are? You can't even be considered noble vampires. You're just a pitiful mistake of a faulty thing. The best way to deal with vampires is to hit their egos. Huh? Who are you? A slicked-up black-haired vampire spoke up. Stop. I don't want to hear anything from a dog like you. Wait, calling you a dog is an insult to the dog itself. At least dogs are loyal. You're just a pig. I display a small smile. Oh, indeed. I started to walk towards them. My smile grew. I felt my teeth change and get sharper. I started to slowly clap my hands. Then, slowly, my image starts to get distorted, and an overwhelming killing intent starts to leave my body. You are just pigs to be slaughtered by me. I heard Scathach's voice. WWH. The vampires began to visibly sweat, and I could also see that some had pissed themselves. Seeing this sight, my sadistic side begged for more. Feeling a hand on my shoulder, I looked at whoever touched me and saw my wife, Ruby. Stop. If you make a fuss here, you won't be able to enter the city again. And we won't be able to have our date. Yeah, if it weren't for that, I would have burned those bitches that are looking at you by now. Violet surprisingly supported Ruby. They're right, just forget about it. They're not worth our time, Sasha supported. Surprisingly, all three seem to have the same opinion on this matter. TSK, just let him loose. Scathach looked annoyed again. Mother. You shouldn't just say that because you're angry. Pepper tried to say something, but Scathach just looked at her daughter when she wanted her daughter to shut up. Pepper stopped talking and looked up at the sky as she began to whistle. What beautiful weather this is, right? Look at those cloudy clouds. She started to stroke Chloe's mane with a pout on her cheek, but Chloe didn't seem to be enjoying it. Hearing my wife's words, I held back my sadistic desires, and looked at the vampires, my eyes gleaming a little for a brief moment. Get lost. The vampire men's bodies seem paralyzed for a few seconds, and then they assume an attitude of obedience. Yes, master. They just left the place obediently. I should have done it from the start, but I wouldn't be satisfied like that. The female vampires who were seeing this just stared at Victor once more with an interested look. They thought that he was someone important since he was hanging out with several high-status women. Before Sasha, Ruby, and Violet could say anything, they heard Scat-Hack say, "What are you waiting for? Fuck off." The female vampires quickly fled when they felt Scat-Hack's pressure. After this small incident finished, the group walked towards Scat-Hack's mansion, which was near the arena. On the way to Scat-Hack's mansion, Eleanor didn't take her gaze off of Victor. Unlike the other female vampires, she wasn't stupid. She knew something happened when Victor looked at those vampires. After all, arrogant vampires wouldn't call someone random a master out of nowhere. Victor felt Eleanor's gaze, and he knew more or less what she was trying to find out, but he didn't care. It also didn't mean he would voluntarily explain what he'd done. "Eleanor, why are you following us?" Ruby asked. "Now that Ruby says that. West bitch, why are you following us?" "Shoo, shoo." Violet spoke. Eleanor ignored Violet and was silent for a few seconds, then she said, "Originally, I wanted to ask my master a favor." She looked at Scat-Hack, who was walking beside her daughters. "But she said she wouldn't train anyone else for a long time. So I just decided to follow you guys to watch the game, and after the game is over, I'll go back home." The two girls nodded when they heard Eleanor's motives. Ruby suddenly remembered something. "Luna, you can buy some books on the human world." "Buy books, do you mean mangas?" Luna exhibited a small smile. Ruby was silent and just looked at Luna. "I want you to buy me something too." Pepper squealed excitedly. "I need some things too," Lakis said. "Eh?" Luna was surprised that suddenly the women started asking her for things. "I need some new tech gadgets," Sienna said. "Oh, that's a good idea. Buy me a camera too." Pepper yelled. "W8. It's a lot, how am I going to bring it all?" All women looked at Maria. "Eh?" Maria was surprised that she suddenly became the focus of attention. "Put Maria to work too. She's my maid after all," Sasha said. "Oh. Good idea." Pepper laughed. Seeing that she had no option in the matter, Maria just sighed. "I need something too. I'll send my butler to go with you." Eleanor picks up a phone. "Walter. I need you to come back here." Violet suddenly said, "Darling, do you need something?" She looks to the side and suddenly notices something. "Darling." He disappeared. "Husband." Sasha looked around. "Don't tell me he got lost." Pepper somehow thought of a green-haired anime character who kept getting lost in the group. "He was probably kidnapped," Lakis deduced. "Impossible. With my mother's current affection, she wouldn't let that happen," Sienna said, but everyone in the group could feel a little jealousy coming from her voice. Scat-Hack ignores Sienna's words and says, "If you're looking for Victor, he turned onto a random street a few blocks back. He seemed to be interested in a store." Ruby sighed. She looked around and also noticed that someone was missing. "Where's Yuki?" "That girl. She went with him." "Well, she's his personal maid," Sasha said. "Indeed. It would be weird if she didn't go with him." Lakis agreed. "Darl. Don't freak out yet," Ruby spoke before Violet could say anything. "Eh?" Violet looked shocked at Ruby. "Don't look at me like that. How long have we known each other?" Ruby rolled her eyes. "But darling is gone." He's just curious about things around him. He looked like a country kid who came to the big city," Sasha said. "Yes." Ruby nodded with Sasha. She looked at Violet and continued, "Trust our husband, okay? Just because he got interested in a store doesn't mean he's going to cheat on us with some random woman. He's not that kind of man." "Indeed. My son-in-law is a faithful man." Scat-Hack flashed a provocative smile. The three wives looked neutrally at Scat-Hack. "What?" "Nothing." The three spoke at the same time. They just realized that Scat-Hack was the real enemy here. Victor sighed. Victor was in a suspicious-looking gun shop. Looks like I split up. Yes, you split from the group, Master, Yuki spoke. Victor was silent. Well, whatever. He could use his connection at any time to meet the group again. Victor starts looking around with his eyes shining with curiosity and sees some red daggers. Hey, old man. What is this dagger? He spoke to a young-looking man who was in a tent. The professional smile almost broke when he heard what Victor said. I'm not old. You are a vampire, right? Yes. How old are you? 1645. My God. He made a shocked face. You are older than many human countries, as expected of an elder. Veins began to pop in the man's head. I am a young adult. Don't call me old. Yeah. But what is this dagger? Listen to me. Damn it. Victor exhibited an amused smile when he saw the man's reaction and, although he could feel the man was strong, he didn't care. After all, he could deduce that fights were not allowed in the capital. He looks to one side a little and sees several royal guards patrolling. With those guards circling all over the capital, I doubt any madman will cause any kind of trouble. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 72, A Little Girl of Few Words. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. You didn't answer my question, old man, Victor spoke again. This is a dagger of crystallized blood. He sighed at the end, and it looked like he's given up on something. What is it for? To eat. From your expression of shock at knowing this is something common, I can tell you're a newborn. Although. The man looked at Yuki. If you are accompanied by a Snow Clan maid, then you are someone important. Victor flashed a small smile. You're pretty honest, huh? Living a long time simply makes you become a simple man. Ha, I believe so. What is this store anyway? He saw several red-colored weapons, and he even had a huge, completely red axe. Initially, he entered the shop thinking it was a gun shop, but it looks like he was mistaken. This is a custom candy store. Candy? Yes. Isn't that just crystallized blood? Victor was curious. He decided to buy to try. How much is the dagger? It's $300, and we accept debit, credit, and even checks. If you want to use illegal money, we can give you a trustworthy bank account. Victor was genuinely confused. He thought vampires used a kind of currency of their own. He was even a little shocked at the price, but he thinks making daggers with crystallized blood shouldn't be easy, and Yuki didn't say anything, so he wasn't being fooled. Although it was kind of questionable whether he should trust Yuki in this kind of situation, after all, a rich person's sense of money is quite skewed. In the past, we tried to use our own currency, but the economy failed in less than 500 years so, because of that, we used human currency, Yuki explained. Oh, Victor was looking at Yuki like she was a walking encyclopedia. Master, haven't you studied the basics of our society? Yes, I studied. But what they taught me were just stories about this world, etc. They didn't teach me common sense. Victor didn't lie. 6 months ago, Pepper, Ruby, and Lakis taught Victor the basics of vampire history, but they didn't teach common sense, and when Victor started training with Scathach, he didn't even think about learning, he just concentrated on getting stronger. Yuki sighed and asked herself what those women were thinking. I will pay in debit. Victor took out a black card that Scathach gave him. Okay. But before proceeding with the purchase, the man looked at the window. Is that child with you? Huh. Victor looked where he was looking and saw a child who looked to be about 5 years old wearing a black goth dress. She had long black hair and violet eyes. Realizing that Victor noticed her presence, the little girl walks elegantly towards the door and enters the establishment. She walks towards Victor. Just when she gets close to Victor, she takes his hand. Father. Victor was speechless. WWH. Yuki didn't know how to react. Victor looked at the young-looking man. Old man, is this your daughter? My kids aren't that cute. The man denied it. Victor looked at the little girl again and, seeing her appearance, he had to agree that she looked adorable, even by vampire standards. Didn't she just call you dad? Old man, don't talk nonsense. I still haven't tasted the forbidden pleasure. Cherry boy, huh? Unexpected, I thought you would be a playboy. What makes you think that? Victor was speechless. Instinct. I felt threatened when you walked into my shop. I thought you were going to steal my wife or something. Victor. The old man. Playboy. Yuki thought of Victor's wives and his relationship with Scathach, and internally, she couldn't help but agree with the old man's words. Father. The little girl squeezed Victor's hand tighter. Victor looked at the little girl, and then he knelt down and looked at the little girl in her eyes. What's your name? Ophis. Ophis? He questioned. She nodded her head in agreement. Why are you calling me father, Ophis? Victor is absolutely sure he hadn't made such a beautiful daughter. Because you are my father. She spoke with a cute face. The old man. Victor. Make sense. It makes no sense. The old man wanted to scream at Victor. What's your father's name? He asked. Father. She answered. What's your mother's name? He asked again. I do not know. Victor didn't know how to react to the little girl's sad expression. Ugh, is she so hard to talk to because she speaks so few words? He thought to himself. Is there someone responsible for you? He asked. I do not know. She answered. Victor sighed. Well, Ophis. Do you know the capital? She nodded. Let's take a walk then. Victor's thought was simple. If he walked around with this girl, her guardians would find her. At least, that was the excuse he thought to himself. He lifts the little girl up and puts her on his shoulder. In the end, you decided to stay with her. I don't know if you're a dumb man or a kind man. Whatever, old man. That's not your problem, and haven't you noticed how difficult she is to talk to? It will take years to find out who is responsible for it, and I still want to explore the capital. Makes sense, just don't get in trouble, boy. Impossible. Huh. A pretty little girl finds me out of nowhere, and I decided to stay with her for a while. Of course, that's begging for trouble. So you are aware of that? Yeah. And why are you taking care of her anyway? Well, it's interesting, right? Why not? The old man was speechless. Hey, old man. Give me that dagger. Give me the card first. Okay. After buying 2 blood daggers, Victor leaves accompanied by Yuki and Ophis, who was on his shoulder. A few minutes after Victor left, a woman with long black hair entered the store accompanied by several royal guards. Did this little girl come through here? Looking at the image in the woman's hand, the old man broke out in a cold sweat, but with years of experience, he managed to keep his poker face. Who are you, ma'am? Elizabeth Teeps. She showed the old man a badge she always carries with her. The old man's whole body shook when he heard the woman's last name. Realizing he was talking to royalty, he did what every good citizen would do in this situation. Yeah, I just saw her go out with a tall man and a Snow Clan maid. He denounced Victor to the authorities. Soon he pointed to where Victor left, and he also gave information about Victor's appearance. Good job, your store will be rewarded. The woman turned and left, accompanied by the knights of the royal guard. Sigh. The old man sighed. He had nothing against Victor, but that's it, he just met the boy, and he wouldn't risk his neck for a stranger, though the old man had a feeling, Victor wouldn't mind. Master, I think you're overreacting. Yuki commented, holding back the growing urge to sigh that was building in her heart. But she's so cute. Victor spoke, The girl was wearing a black bunny hat that had red eyes. She was holding several crystallized blood candies. Yuki looked at Ophis, and when she saw the slight smile on the girl's face stoic, she realized she was enjoying what Victor was doing. I better not tell this to the master's wives, they're going to freak out. Yuki thought. Somehow Victor felt like a father who should spoil his daughter. At first, he just walked around with Ophis sitting on his shoulder, but every now and then, he saw that she was interested in something, but she didn't say anything, and instinctively, Victor took action and bought her several things. Victor takes Ophis off his shoulder and lifts her like a child. Tell me, do you hate this? Ophis looked into Victor's red eyes, then she said, I don't hate it, father. See? Victor chuckled and soon puts her on his shoulder again. Yuki sighed, although personally, she found it cute how Victor spoiled a child looking like an overprotective parent. But the problem is that the child is not his. It's a random kid he found in a random place. This is kidnapping. She can somehow hear the police siren km away. Ophis, if you find anything interesting, just point your finger, okay? She spoke as she licked the crystallized candy. Victor even tried to eat these sweets, but he didn't like them, and he even almost threw up. It tasted awful for him, so it was quite impressive to see Ophis and Yuki eating it like it was delicious. Yes. Yuki ate the candy too, despite being complaining a few minutes ago. The maid had completely forgotten about her work. She only remembered when she saw that Victor was overdoing his shopping. The group started walking around the city again. The city is busier than usual, Yuki commented. Is it because of the game? Yeah, as it's a public game, the authorities took the opportunity to make a big event. After all, if Lady Victoria wins, she will become a new Count Vampire, and that will mark a new record in vampire history. Never in history has it happened that the title of Count passed to another owner in such a short period of time. I see. Ophis points to a children's clothing store. Oh. Are you interested in clothes? Cute. Let's go then. When Victor entered the store along with Ophis and Yuki, someone was watching him from a distance. What are we supposed to do, princess? A young-looking knight asked. He looked quite impatient. The woman shows a small smile on her face. You won't do anything. Just wait outside the store. But, Princess Dash. The knight was about to protest, but with just one look from the woman, he was silent. Wait here. I won't repeat myself again, okay? She smiled, gently, at the knights. Yes. They quickly nodded in agreement. The woman nods, satisfied, and then she walks towards the store. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 73, The King's Daughters. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Upon entering the store, Ophis started pointing her finger at various cute clothes. Victor called an attendant and, when the attendant arrived, he asked. Do you have a locker room here? Yes, my lord. The locker room is in that direction. Follow me. My lord. Victor thought about the strange way the woman called him, but he thought the woman called him that because he was accompanied by Yuki. After all, her features screamed that she was from Clan Snow. Victor took several clothes that Ophis pointed out and gave to Yuki. I can't go into the locker room with a kid I barely know, right? That would be inappropriate. Unexpected. Huh. I thought my master didn't have common sense. She spoke with a gentle smile, but her words weren't kind. Just help Ophis change her clothes, Victor spoke as he took Ophis off his shoulders and set her down. Yes, master. Yuki looks at Ophis and says, Come on, Lady Ophis. I will help you change your clothes. Ophis didn't say anything, she just held a part of Victor's pants as if she didn't want to be separated from him. Victor displays a gentle smile when he sees this. He kneels and says, Coming with you in that locker room would definitely be inappropriate. Just listen to Yuki, okay? I'll wait outside. He stroked her head. When she felt Victor's caresses, for a few seconds, Offa's eyes sparkled intensely. She seemed to have enjoyed it a lot. Soon, she closed her eyes as if enjoying herself. Victor stopped stroking Offa's head. Go. I will wait. Father. She agreed. Victor felt his heart being caressed by the cuteness of Offa now. Soon Yuki and Offa entered the locker room. Taking this chance, the attendant approached Victor. Lord, are you interested in buying this? Victor looks at the object in the woman's hand, a camera. Yeah, and it's not just any camera, it's a high-definition camera that was made specifically for taking high-resolution photos, and with which technology, the photo is printed on the spot. Interesting. Victor was interested, but he didn't see the need to buy a camera right now. But I don't. Victor was going to refuse, but he stopped talking when Yuki walked out of the locker room with Offa. Looks good? Offa asked. Victor didn't know how to answer. Offa's black dress was swapped for a black bunny coat and a pretty black skirt. She looked incredibly adorable. Victor was speechless and, for the first time, he realized why cuteness is justice. Give me that shit. He took the camera from the woman's hand and started taking pictures of Offa. Thanks for the purchase. The attendant laughed and walked away. Ugh yeah. So cute. Victor was freaking out while taking several pictures of Offa in different outfits. All the outfits were made for kids, and none of the outfits Offa wore were inappropriate. Master. Yuki was actually considering calling the royal guards. But she still hasn't done that because she realized that Victor had no malicious intent behind his actions. He just looked like he was having fun. Yuki looks at Offa and sees a small smile on the child. She seems to be enjoying it too. Feeling a gaze pierce his back, Victor stopped taking pictures and looked at Yuki. Don't look at me like you're looking at a criminal. I just realized I liked cute things. Victor was definitely not abnormal. He liked thighs. Breasts. A grown woman. The cuteness was meant to be appreciated. Remembering the jokes he played with his wives when they were alone. Victor nodded in satisfaction. Adult women are better. Feeling someone pulling the fabric of his pants, he looked down. Offa? The little girl seemed to be hiding behind him. He looked over to where Offa was looking and saw a woman with long black hair with shades of violet eyes, and pale skin common to vampires. She had a nice womanly figure. She was thin and short for Victor's current height, about 172 centimeters. But despite being thin, she had everything in the right places, B-cup breasts and a perky ass. She was wearing a short black dress that looked to be quite simple, but at the same time very elegant. She had a black choker around her neck, and on that choker held a small black jewel. She definitely has the appearance of a cool woman. Oh, she finally decided to show herself. Victor had already noticed her for some time, and he just didn't do anything because he thought she had no bad intentions. He shifted his attention and looked towards the wall, then his world changed to crimson red. They're still waiting. Victor's smile grew. He had already deduced the woman's identity, but the question was, what is her relationship with Offa? Maybe her sister. Victor felt it was quite possible that this was correct, but one thing was for sure. He was definitely comparing his strengths to the woman in front of him. Although she is hiding her power. He could deduce that because she appeared to be relatively weak. But as that man's daughter, she shouldn't be weak, right? Hello. She waved a hand as she approached. Victor flashed a small smile. You finally revealed yourself. I was starting to wonder how long it would take you. He got right down to business. She was a little surprised that Victor didn't try to extend the conversation, so she displayed a small satisfied smile. She liked his attitude of not wasting time with useless conversation. Well. I didn't think the time was right to go in. She looked at Offa and the clothes Offa was wearing. Yuki approaches Victor and stands behind him. She had noticed the strange atmosphere between the two. Admit it, you just wanted to see more, right? Indeed, my sister is a bit quiet, so it's rare to see her exhibiting so many emotions. Offa's grip tightened on Victor's leg. Victor stroked Offa's head. You say, sister. But she doesn't seem comfortable with you. Complicated family. She laughed. I can imagine. Victor flashed a smile that showed his sharp teeth. As he couldn't move properly with Ophis holding his leg, he picked up the little girl and placed her on his shoulder. The woman's eyes sparkled for a few seconds when she saw that Ophis easily accepted being touched. Is he not feeling anything? Interesting. Like Ophis' sister, she knew of the little girl's special condition, and seeing a person touching her sister directly and not being influenced made her quite curious. We didn't introduce ourselves, huh? My name is Victor Walker. Walker? She has never heard of this family of vampires. Elizabeth Teeps, the daughter of the king. Oh. Cool. Victor didn't react much. Elizabeth didn't know how to react. She expected a reaction similar to the one from the owner of the store. Is she your sister? He asked Ophis directly. Sister. Ophis nodded in agreement. Do you like her? He asked. Sister is a good person, father. Father. Elizabeth stuttered a lot, and her noble appearance of hers went away as if it never existed. Skathacka's mansion in the capital that was close to the arena. Darling is taking a while. I'm having a bad feeling about this. Violet was impatient. It's only been 2 hours, Violet. Take it easy. Ruby spoke. I'll go look for him, I can get to him easily with my speed. Sasha was feeling the same feeling as Violet. Ruby held Sasha's hand. He'll be back in an hour, and if he's too late, we can go out and look for him. After all, we can easily find him. She was also worried, but she wanted Victor to also have some time alone, especially considering he spent 6 months training without resting. Violet is understandable, but, even Sasha and Ruby? I never expected to see them make these expressions. I think marriage changes people, huh? Eleanor spoke. She was sitting next to Sienna, Lakis, and Pepper. Currently, there were only Violet, Ruby, Sasha, Lakis, Pepper, Sienna, Eleanor, and Chloe in the mansion. Scathach had gone off somewhere. She had said she was going to visit an old friend. Maria and Luna are in the human world. Things have changed since that man moved here. Sienna sighed. You seem to dislike him. At first, I had a certain prejudice towards him, but seeing him becoming strong in such a short time. And seeing him receiving my mother's affection. Her voice began to darken every second she spoke. Jealousy, huh? Eleanor could understand Sienna a little. After all, Victor seemed quite close to Skathach, which is something she has never been able to do, even though she is Skathach's disciple. Wrong. I'm not jealous of him. My opinion of him is neutral. Eleanor rolled her eyes. She obviously didn't believe it. And you, Lakis? I like Victor, he's a fun guy. She said, then she continued, sometimes when I talk to him, I feel like I'm talking to my mother. They are very similar in certain aspects. I think they match. Why are you talking like he's going to become your father? Eleanor was speechless. Oh. Lakis didn't realize what she said. Victor is a lot like my mother. But he's kinder than she is. Humph. My mother's kindness is demonstrated through actions. Sienna snorted. I know, but I also miss hearing an, I love you, or, I was worried. She's not a woman who says these things. Pepper commented a little sadly. She was the one who missed it the most. She was quite emotional about family issues. Sienna and Lakis didn't say anything, but they internally agreed with Pepper's words. The 3 foster sisters had the same feelings as Ruby towards their mother. They wanted to be closer to Skathach, but they didn't know how to go about it. And, because of that, they were also a little jealous of Victor for being able to get close to Skathach so quickly. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweisman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 74, The King's Daughters. 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Victor was walking through the streets of the capital accompanied by Yuki, who was on his left side. who had several bags in her hands. These were the purchases Victor made for Ophis. Talking about Ophis, the little princess was sitting on his right shoulder and gently holding his neck as if she was afraid of falling. Ophis was back in her goth dress. She bought several outfits, but she still decided to keep her dress. However, she had said she would wear the dresses at home. On Victor's right side was a very elegant and dazzling-looking woman, and all the little gestures she made were charged with a lot of nobility and elegance. Kaka, they sure are tense. Victor chuckled as he looked at the group of royal guards. He waved softly at them, and he could see that some were annoyed to see him making the gesture. Well, that's their job, even though they're overreacting, Elizabeth spoke in an elegant voice. After Victor and Elizabeth's brief encounter at the clothing store, Victor somehow gained new company on his visit to the capital. The princess seemed quite interested in accompanying him and, as he saw that Ophis wasn't afraid of her, he didn't mind having this princess accompany him. Apparently, Ophis just didn't want to go home. According to Elizabeth, Ophis lives in a very isolated location. And she has little contact with other people, so, because of that, she speaks very few words. Unlike before, when he was enjoying the capital in a carefree way, this time, he was more aware of his surroundings. The group started visiting various stores while talking about random things. If anyone saw it from the outside, they would think the group looked like a group of friends enjoying the local festivities, in a suspicious-looking store. What is that? He pointed to an object that looked like a black banana. This is animal food. Oh. In some isolated regions of the East, there is a group of monkeys that can be domesticated, and this is their food, Elizabeth explained. Victor's eyes sparkled with interest. Why is everything here the darkest color? Evolution. She said. Victor immediately understood what she meant. Oh, as this is a world where there is no sunlight, they evolved differently. Yes. Because of this peculiarity, there are many strange animals. Interesting. I hope to see these animals in the future. Victor soon turned and started walking again in search of something else that piqued his curiosity. Elizabeth looked at Victor's back for a moment. She seemed to be thinking deeply about something. Then, seeing Victor playing with Ophis, who pointed towards a strange item, the princess exhibited a small smile on her face and soon followed the two. One thing Victor noticed was that he was getting more attention now. It turned out that walking around with an elegant princess caused that kind of effect. And the royal guards who weren't that far behind the group didn't help either. This kind of situation was a dish full of curiosity for vampires who were always bored. Victor didn't mind the looks this time. After all, they weren't looking at his wife. He just kept his senses alert since he expected something to happen at any moment, and he wasn't wrong. Something actually happened. But it wasn't with him. Did you touch me? You inferior. A grown man yelled. Who? The street is public. And you were the one who leaned against me. Look at my clothes, they're dirty. The other man, who looked like a teenager, yelled as he pointed at his shirt, which had a small spot of dirt. Fuck your outfit. I want compensation. You hurt me. Fuck you. The younger man held up his middle finger. Are they idiots? Victor looked at a group of vampires who were arguing in the middle of town. Idiots. Ophis repeated what Victor said. She looked like she was learning a new word. This happens more often than you think, Elizabeth spoke. Ego the size of the world. Victor said. Indeed, Elizabeth agreed. I wonder how I would feel if I stepped on these fragile egos. What expressions would they make? Victor muttered under his breath with a neutral expression that threatened to break into a smile at any moment. With vampire senses heightened, the women heard what Victor said, but they decided not to comment on it. Victor looked at the two men and saw that they immediately fled when the royal guard approached them. Boring. Let's keep walking. He started walking again. The group walked through several streets and stores. They ended up entering a street that had no vampire in sight. Victor thought this would be a shortcut to the other street, but it ended up being a dead end. Let's go back. He was going to turn around, but suddenly Elizabeth said. Unfortunately. He looked at the princess. I need to go home, and so do you, Ophis. Ophis quickly gripped Victor's neck tighter. She looked at her sister with an expression that said she didn't want to go. Ophis dash. Elizabeth tried to say something, but she was interrupted by Ophis. I don't want. Idiot. Veins began to pop in Elizabeth's head. PFF. Cough. What? A laugh almost escaped from Victor, but he quickly controlled his expression. This is your fault. She has never spoken those words before. I'm innocent, believe me, I never lie. Look at my smile. Is this a liar's smile? Victor smiled with a smile that showed all of his sharp teeth. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. Ophis, we have to go. You don't want to upset our maid, right? Ophis pouted cutely. Ophis looks at Victor and says, give me. What? Hand. Okay. He saw no reason to refuse. Victor reaches his hand toward Ophis, and soon she does something that leaves Elizabeth gaping. Bite. Ophis bites Victor's hand and drinks his blood. Oh, Ophis. Victor looks at her with a curious look. He waits patiently, and in less than a few seconds, Ophis stops biting Victor. Yummy. Ophis licked her lips. What did you do? He asked. Mark. Victor looked at his hand in curiosity, but he saw no difference, and the wound Ophis had made has already healed. Yes. She nodded and jumped off Victor's shoulder. As she falls to the ground, Ophis' appearance begins to distort. She looks at Elizabeth. Returning. W8. Before Elizabeth could catch Ophis, the little girl disappeared, and all everyone could see was just a dark trail. She ran away again. She stomped to the ground in frustration. Victor analyzed the situation. He could feel that the girl didn't run somewhere, she just disappeared from existence. He couldn't even feel her presence anymore. Some kind of concealment technique? He tried to deduce what he just saw. Elizabeth looks at Victor and, her eyes begin to glow blood red, then she speaks in an ordering tone. Keep what you saw a secret. Victor looks at Elizabeth, then starts to laugh. Kaka. I will keep the secret, don't worry. He walks towards Yuki, takes the things he bought for Ophis, and quickly gives the items to Elizabeth. Elizabeth was surprised by several things now, but unconsciously she held the bags. I also need to leave now. Be careful where you walk, princess. He picks up Yuki like a princess. Master. Close your mouth, or you'll bite your tongue. Not expecting Yuki to prepare, Victor takes a step in a random direction, then disappears. Elizabeth was surprised again by this display of speed. Fast. Princess. The royal guards approached when they realized the princess was alone. Who is that man? She asked aloud. My charm didn't work. He didn't seem affected by Ophis' condition either. And my sister called him father. She muttered. Princess. The guards called her again. But Elizabeth didn't mind. I forgot to ask him for personal information. Wrong. She shook her head. Actually, he deflected the questions on purpose. Elizabeth remembers that when she asked personal questions, Victor pretended to be interested in something and didn't answer her question. Elizabeth started to think with a frown on her face, but soon she wore a smile on her face. Whatever. I can get this information easily. After all, nothing escapes the eyes of the king's shadows. Elizabeth hands the purchases to the guards. Let's go back. My sister should be home now. On top of a tall building, Victor was standing on the highest part of this structure. Victor was watching all this from several miles away. He couldn't hear it from so far away, but he could see from that distance because of his special eyes. She'll probably be interested in me and send someone to investigate me. Victor was thinking of talking to Scathach. She seemed to know a lot about the king's family. Some kind of concealment technique, or a power I don't know about. This world sure is interesting. Victor had a huge smile on his face. Master, don't drop me. Yuki looked down with a bit of fear. Kakaka. Even being a vampire, are you afraid of heights? This has nothing to do with being a vampire or not. Seeing Yuki's expression, Victor felt an itch in his heart, and it was a feeling as if someone had said, tease her, and that's precisely what he did. Don't scream, or you'll bite your tongue. Huh. Victor takes a step in the air, and soon gravity begins to do its work. Yuki quickly hugged Victor's neck when she realized he was falling at high speed, and she did as he asked. She didn't scream, but she wanted to scream now. Good. He nodded in satisfaction. Victor does a somersault in the air and kicks the building's wall, and soon he disappears from view. His control was so perfect that he didn't destroy anything and didn't make any noise when he made all these extravagant moves. Edited by is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 75, I just do what I want. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Using the connection to his wives as a guide, Victor managed to find Skathaka's mansion. Hey, girls. I came back. Before Victor could finish his sentence, a violet-shaped rocket attacked him. Darling. 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 Violet stops snuggling and smells Victor's clothes. A woman. Her eyes darkened, but soon she wore a confused expression. Wrong, is that a little girl? Violet pulls away from Victor and looks at him. Did you get your hands on a little girl? Kakakaka. Victor laughs, then he looks at Violet and says, when I was visiting the capital, a strange little girl approached me. He started to explain to her his meeting with Ophis and Elizabeth. In the middle of the explanation, Ruby and Sasha also appeared, accompanied by Lakis and Pepper. Yuki. Are you okay? Pepper asked, a little worried. Do I look okay? Yuki commented with a tired face. Her elegant appearance was totally worn out, and even her hair was messed up. Ugh. Yuki put her hand over her mouth. She felt like throwing up. I think you should take a shower. I'm still working. Before she could finish speaking, she felt someone patting her head. You're off your job today. Go rest. Victor chuckled, then went back to explaining what happened to his wives. Yuki exhibited a small smile. She nodded her head and soon entered the mansion. In a room at Skathaka's mansion, Victor was sitting on the couch, Violet was on his left, Sasha and Ruby were on his right. Darling, how can you get in so much trouble when you're alone? Ruby asked in disbelief. Did he just go to a random shop and suddenly meet the king's two youngest daughters? Bullshit. If Ruby didn't know Victor's personality and trusted her husband, she definitely wouldn't believe this story. In my defense, I was walking around the capital having fun. I didn't look for trouble, and it was Ophis who approached me and started calling me father. But you could avoid that by turning down Ophis's request, right? You just didn't do it because you found it interesting. Victor couldn't deny Sasha's words. See? He's a lot like my mom. Pepper laughed as she spoke to Eleanor. Shoo. Eleanor put her hand over her mouth in a silent gesture. She looked like she was about to watch a very interesting scene. Pepper pouted cutely. Letting my mother take care of you for 6 months was a big mistake. You ended up acquiring her quirks of looking for problems. Ruby commented. Kakakaka, no need to be so upset. I know what I'm doing, and I do what I do on purpose. Husband, you don't know. They are. Victor interrupted. They're from the king's family, and they're definitely going to investigate me, and they're going to find out about our relationship, right? And that can cause problems because some of the children or relatives of the king will not like this situation. They will think that the 3 families have become allies. He commented with a smile on his face. And some of those relatives are definitely going to come looking for trouble. Sasha was silent. Sasha. My beloved wife, I'm not stupid. He patted Sasha's head. Then why dash? Violet, who was silent, was going to ask why he did it even though he knew the consequences, but Victor interrupted her. I did it because I wanted to. She was silent. I do what I want, whenever I want, and wherever I want. I won't limit myself because I'm afraid that X or Y person will be upset with my actions. And I'm not ashamed of our relationship either. I love you girls. And this is definitely not wrong. Violet, Sasha, and Ruby's cheeks turned a little red at the sudden confession. I will live my life however I want, and if someone doesn't like it, they are most welcome to knock on my door. I will rip their guts out and hang it on the gate as a warning. He spoke with a smile that showed all his sharp teeth. But what if you get it wrong? I mean, what if you make a wrong decision? Eleanor asked. If I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I'll just have to live with the consequences of my mistake. I'm not a perfect being who never makes mistakes, and I also don't want to live by planning every step I take. That isn't living, that's just a way of mentally torturing yourself. Eleanor was silent, she seemed to be thinking of something. And if I get it wrong? He showed a gentle smile. I also have my wives to advise me, and say something like, Victor, you idiot, you made a mistake. I'm not alone. My wives are my greatest allies. Sasha, Violet, and Ruby showed a small smile on their faces, they were so happy that Victor thought so deeply about them. Tell me, my wives. Was the decision I made today a mistake? He asked, still smiling. If you look at the whole situation coldly. You didn't make a mistake because it looks like you've earned the affection of the king's youngest daughter, Ruby commented. She looked like she was planning to do something. I don't know, and I don't care about politics either. I just don't like other women getting close to you. Violet spoke as honestly as ever. I think contacting the king's daughter now was a rash decision. Although I understand you didn't know that Ophis was the king's daughter. Sasha commented. See? He smiled and looked at Eleanor. My wives have different opinions from each other, and with those opinions, they can help me a lot. But in the end, I'll still do what I want, just as my wives will do what they want. And if any of us make a mistake, we just have to help each other, together as a family. Violet, Ruby, and Sasha felt their hearts were quite sweet now, and they even had a goofy smile on their faces. My beloved mother always told me when I was a teenager that making mistakes is normal. Every human makes mistakes, but to keep making the same mistake is just insanity. You must learn from the mistake so that in the future you don't repeat the same mistake. We must always seek to improve. Although I am no longer human, that concept still applies to me and to everyone in this room. He always took his mom's lessons seriously since his dad just taught him not to be a coward, and he thanks his dad for teaching him that since he was little. Seeing the faces of the women in the room, he said. I think I said too much, kaka. This turned out to be a moral lesson, ignore what I said, okay? Those are just my honest thoughts. It's okay, I could learn something from this conversation. Eleanor seems to have understood something. Pepper, Lakis, and Sienna also nodded in agreement with Eleanor's words. Ulmo. He nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, he felt the presence of someone around the mansion, and Victor exhibited a smile of a predator. This is something Scathach always told me while I was training with her. Victor, you must not limit yourself, live however you want, but you must know the consequences of your choices. That's something my mom would say. Sienna commented. Everyone in the room agreed with Sienna's words. You know what? I agree with Scathach. Everyone in the room rolled their eyes. For them, this was no longer a novelty. Kaka. Scathach's laugh echoed throughout the mansion. Oh no. Pepper said. He definitely did it on purpose. Lakis sighed. Well said, stupid disciple. Scathach appears behind Victor. She leans behind the couch and looks down towards Victor's face. Victor lifts his face and looks into Scathach's green eyes. She holds Victor's face and displays a distorted smile. Why live limiting yourself? Why live by the rules of others? Why live always planning the future? That is not life. Just do what you want. So what if you make a mistake? Just don't make the same mistake in the future. You should just move on and never give up on the path you've chosen. That's the way of life I live. Living this way is a lot more fun, right? Victor's teeth sharpened, his smile grew, and his red eyes glowed. Indeed. Indeed, it's a lot more fun to live like this. PFFF. Kaka. Scat laughed madly, it was like she found something hilarious. Kaka, Victor started laughing along. Violet, Sasha, and Ruby didn't know how to react to their words, but one thing they were sure of, it was a mistake to let Victor stay with Scat for 6 months. Just what has he become? By teaching Victor, Scat basically created a version of her in male form. They could handle one Scat. But two is impossible. Now, I understand why my mother reacts so much to Victor. Sienna commented in a low voice, Lakis, Pepper, and Eleanor looked at Sienna. They're the same. But, then, she corrected her words, I mean, they're not exactly the same because that's impossible, after all, no one is the exact same as anyone. What I mean is that the starting point of the thoughts that dictate their actions are the same. I think that's why my mother reacts so much to Victor. She found someone who is similar to her. Hearing what Sienna said, the women looked at Scat, who had stopped laughing, and was sitting next to Victor. You may be correct, sister. Lakis commented, then she added, but Victor is still not as crazy as my mother, he has not experienced tragedies or fought wars, he is very green. Yes, but the seed is there, and that similar way of thinking has been there from the beginning. He just has to experience it. And, when he experiences it, he will turn into something terrifying. Lakis was silent, but inwardly she agreed with Sienna's words. War, huh? Eleanor seemed to be thinking of something, she looked at Victor, and for a moment, her eyes flickered with interest. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 76, It's not like they're trying to keep secrets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A shadow appeared in the middle of the room at Scat mansion, then a maid with oriental features emerged from the shadows. Oh, Kagaya. You came back. Kagaya heard Sienna's voice, then she looked at the woman. Yes. Where is my master? For some reason, Kagaya felt a pleasant itch in her heart when she said, my master. Victor. Currently, he is on the 2nd floor, in a room that has been assigned to him and his wives. If you follow the stairs, you can easily find him. Thanks. Kagaya made a simple gesture of thanks, then walked towards the stairs. On the way to the stairs, she saw someone's room with the door open, and, as a responsible maid, she would close the door to give more privacy to the individuals inside the room. When she touches the doorknob to close the door, she hears Pepper and Ruby's voice. Pepper, is this a new anime? Oh, it's a release from last season. I don't think you've seen it, sister. A lot of things happened, and I had to train for 6 months, I missed 2 whole seasons. Don't worry, as a responsible big sister, I recorded all the animes. Oh. Good job, sister. But what is this Bumo? Victor says that a lot when he's happy or relaxed. I thought it was cool. So I copied it. I remember that Anna, Victor's mother, talks about that a lot too. But, you've been watching my husband a lot, huh? F-way. What is that scary look? I did nothing. Nothing. Let's just watch anime. Ruby. Don't become like Violet, please. Ruby was silent. Well, that was interesting. Kagaya was pleased, but realizing what she had done, she quickly shook her head several times and closed the door. How rude. I must not eavesdrop on others' conversations. She thought she was being a very bad maid now. Going up the stairs, Kaguya reached the second floor, and again, she found another room with the door open, and, like a competent maid, she had to close the bedroom door. As she approached the room, she heard the voices of Eleanor, Lakis, Sasha, and Violet. I don't understand how this works. Sasha. What? Eleanor. That sword. It's massive and heavy, I prefer something lighter like daggers. Sasha. That's because your fighting style is more focused on speed. Violet. Indeed. My fighting style is more focused on strength, and, because of that, heavy weapons are better for me. But, now that I stop to think, what is Victor's fighting style? Eleanor. We don't know, but the way he easily used his sword, is he a strength user? But he's pretty fast too. Sasha. I wonder if he chose greatsword as his starting weapon to train with my master. Eleanor. The only sword influences in Darling's life were the movies of a barbarian he watched with his father, so I think so. He must have chosen greatsword as his first training weapon. Violet. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Just. Sigh. Sasha sighed, then continued, just how long have you been watching my husband? A long time. A long time indeed. How can I say, would Countess Agnes be proud? After all, her daughter is just like her. Eleanor commented in a sarcastic tone. Hey. West bitch. Don't bring my mother into the conversation. Deciding enough was enough, Kaguya closed the door. As expected. Stalker's blood is strong in this family. Kaguya nodded and then started walking towards Victor's room. How did she know it was Victor's room? Well, the name Victor's room was written on the door. Looks like someone did it on purpose. After all, he's the only man in this mansion. Touching Victor's doorknob, she heard Victor and Skathaka's voice. Ka. Did you let that little girl drink your blood? Violet better not find this out, she's going to freak out. But she already knows. I had a hard time making her calmer. Ka. Stopping to think. I remember your daughter said that vampires only drink blood from other vampires only if they are from the family or someone very close as a lover. Indeed. I totally forgot about that. Well, don't worry too much, she just drank a few drops of your blood, so it shouldn't be a big problem. But I think she'll go without food for a while, considering all the blood she eats will have a disgusting taste to her. I see, I hope she's okay. You seem to like the princesses. Ophis? Yes, she is a good girl. Elizabeth? I don't know. My opinion of her is neutral. Not bad. I think. But to think you'd find the fourth flower of the vampire world with just a casual stroll through the capital. Ka. Flower? Who? Elizabeth? Ophis. Don't make that stupid face. Haven't you noticed her unearthly beauty despite being 5 years old? That's unnatural even for vampires. That's why she's so protected. Oh, I remember she completely disappeared from my senses. Was that some concealment technique? Victor seemed to change the subject. Ka. You're wrong, stupid disciple. That is not a technique, that is her power. She was born with the ability to teleport. Interesting. I thought the king's family would follow the same example as the noble vampire family. So, for example, you can control ice, and your descendants will also inherit your powers. You are right and wrong at the same time. The king's family is special. You will find out more in the future. Why so much mystery? Ka. It's more fun this way. And it's not like this information could help you with anything because even I don't know all the powers of the king's children. That man made sure to hide that secret completely. I understand. A moment of silence fell in the room. Then, sensing an opportunity to step inside, Kaguya turned the doorknob but stopped when she heard Victor's voice. So, how's your bloodlust? It's manageable. It's been years since my head felt light like a feather, although I'm already starting to feel the effects of bloodlust again. Victor, who was sitting at his bedroom window, looked into Skathaka's eyes. Seeing her eyes constantly changing color and seeing the frown on her face, he realized she wasn't completely honest. She was already thirsty but just didn't say anything. Come here. Slowly, he unbuttoned his suit a bit and showed Skathak his neck. Skathak, who was sitting in an armchair away from Victor, looked at this scene, bathing in the moonlight as he sat elegantly at the window. Victor's current appearance seemed quite irresistible to her, especially when she looked into those crimson-red eyes that, for some reason since the Colosseum incident, never changed to sapphire blue again. Skathak gets up from her chair and walks elegantly towards Victor. Coming close to him, she spoke in a low voice, "Do you know what you're offering me?" She lightly stroked his neck, and slowly her eyes changed to blood red. Victor displayed a small smile that showed his sharp teeth. "Yeah. As you said earlier, vampires only offer their blood to other really close vampires or family members, right? You're my mother-in-law, you're my family. And I can't let you walk around with constant destructive impulses. Humph, I put up with this easily for 21 years. Don't treat me like a delicate woman. I am not. I just don't want to see you in that state again." He lightly stroked her face, "And I know damn well how strong you are." Skathak leans her voluptuous body against Victor. She wraps her arms around his neck and then starts sniffing his neck. Glad you understand." She spoke in a low voice. She extended her tongue, and start licking his neck. Victor lightly grips Skathaka's waist and does his best to ignore the feeling of temptation that is overflowing from this woman's body. But, this proved to be an arduous task. Skathak was very similar to Ruby, which was a weak point for Victor. He kept repeating like a mantra in his head, "She's my mother-in-law. She is my mother-in-law. She is my mother-in-law." He didn't want to betray his wives, and what he was doing now was just helping Skathak control her bloodlust, and that was also a form of thanks for helping him out of that deplorable state he was in the Colosseum. If it wasn't for her having helped him, he wouldn't know what he would become today. Skathaka's teeth began to sharpen as she bit into Victor's neck. Ugh! Victor held back the moan, feeling his blood being sucked. His eyes began to glow blood red. Looking at Skathaka's delicate collarbone, his instincts were begging him to bite, and that's what he did. He hugged Skathak tighter and bit her neck. Skathak tightened her grip on Victor's neck, and unconsciously, she was regulating her strength so as not to break his neck. Victor's bedroom door opened a little, and then Kagaya's snooping eye appeared. That was unexpected. I don't know what happened in those 6 months, but they got so close for my master to casually give his blood. Kagaya thought in surprise. Kagaya was thinking about several things now, and the main ones were how their relationship had become so close in such a short time, but she had a doubt that remained from the beginning. Skathak is a 2,000-year-old vampire. She must have already realized that I'm here. And Victor is a vampire who was trained by her, so he also knows I'm here. Now, why do they want me to see this? Like a hard-working maid, her mind began to work on an answer, and soon she understood something. Oh, as Victor's personal maid, I must know about this. She thought that was it. After all, a maid sometimes hides the darkest secrets of their masters. Despite being a hard-working maid, she could never imagine that Victor and Skathak just didn't mind someone in the family watching them both. It's not like they were trying to keep secrets either. Edited by is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/Victor Weissman. More characters images in ./4FETZAF, like it. Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 77, My Master. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Victor stopped drinking Skathaka's blood when he felt satisfied, and he licked her collarbone a little to clean up the spilled blood. Then, seeing that the woman was still drinking his blood, his eyes sparkled with a mischievous glint. Slowly, his hand approaches Skathaka's head and begins stroking the woman's head. Skathaka's body visibly trembled as Victor began to stroke her head, but she didn't care. She didn't want to stop drinking his delicious blood because of it. Seeing that he was successful, he exhibited the smile of someone who has gotten what he wants. A few minutes passed, and Scathach was still drinking his blood. It seemed that the thirst of an ancient vampire was insatiable, but Victor definitely didn't care, so he looked at the full moon of Nightingale's world. A beautiful night. A beautiful night indeed. As a creature of the night, he felt much more comfortable with the night. Every time he looked at the moon, he felt a tingle in his stomach. It was the same feeling he felt when he arrived at his mother's house. It was a feeling of welcome, a feeling that said, "You are home now." A pleasant feeling. Scathach stopped drinking Victor's blood. She was finally satisfied, so she started licking his neck like she didn't want to waste anything. "Your blood is irresistible as always." She spoke as she licked his neck. Victor looks at Scathach, and, seeing the seductive smile on her face, he displays his own smile. "Are you satisfied? How long are you going to keep doing this?" She didn't answer his question, and instead, she asked another question. "I'm not a little girl." Kakaka. Victor chuckled playfully. "Indeed, you're not a little girl. But you don't seem to dislike it, right?" Scathach lowered her face and used her right to remain silent. Victor stopped stroking the woman's head, brings his hand closer to Scathach's chin, and lifts her face a little higher, looking into his mother-in-law's green eyes. "Your eyes are back to normal. Are you satisfied now?" He asked the same question, looking into Victor's crimson-red eyes. Scathach felt a strange feeling in her heart. It was a very sweet feeling, a pleasant warmth, and it brought a spiritual peace to her. "Yeah," she flashed a seductive smile, "I'm satisfied." Then, slowly, she starts to walk away from Victor, for now. Without her even being aware of it, she was slowly creating a desire for possession towards Victor in her heart. Scathach straightened her outfit, which was a bit messy. She straightened her hair, and soon she looked the same as she always does. Like at home, she was wearing casual clothes, a pair of jeans, and a simple black shirt. She looks at the door and flashes a slight smile. "Come in, maid. We know you're there." Kaguya expected this. She opened the door and entered. As she closes the door and turns around, she looks at the two individuals. Scathach was back to her normal appearance, but Victor didn't bother to straighten his clothes. Because of this, evidence of what happened was still visible for Kaguya to see. Looking at her master, who was sitting at the window while looking at the moon, Kaguya's throat began to itch. Even though she had never tasted Victor's blood, just smelling the scent in the air made her very thirsty. Before it wasn't like that, but now. Why am I feeling this now? She didn't understand this feeling. Kaka. Do your thing, maid. I'll go out for a bit. Scathach said she could deduce why Kaguya was here now. Scathach walked to the entrance of the room. Passing by Kaguya, she spoke in a low voice, "You're lucky, maid." Kaguya doesn't understand. She looks at Scathach, but the woman has already left the room and closed the door. Kaguya turned and looked at Victor. "Master." "Kaguya. You left your master for a long time. Do you have any excuses?" Victor spoke, still looking at the moon. Kaguya's body visibly trembled when she heard Victor's serious voice, but soon she replied in a neutral voice. "I told you." Before Kaguya could finish saying something, Victor spoke. "I'm kidding." He spoke, looking at Kaguya. Kaka. Victor laughed amusedly. Kaguya very much held back her urge to pout, sigh. Kaguya visibly sighed. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something that looked like golden paper that was rolled into a parchment shape. This golden paper is a contract, a material made by the witches. Does the master know about this? Yeah. Scathach taught me the basics of contracts. The magic contracts made by the witch are divided into several levels according to the color of the paper. White paper are the simplest contracts that are made by an inexperienced witch, and this type of contract can also be broken by other inexperienced witches. The golden paper are exclusive contracts that can only be created and broken by experienced witches. There is also the black paper, which is a contract created by the Queen of Witches, and like the other contracts, only the Queen can break this contract. Unexpected. I thought you were only taught about fighting. Oh, she taught me about fighting, but she also taught me some knowledge so I wouldn't be fooled by the witches. According to her, witches are greedy bitches, indeed. Kaguya agreed with Skathaka's thoughts. Soon Kaguya starts to explain. The contract for an exclusive maid works this way: the master must state their working conditions, and the maid must decide whether to accept it or not. To avoid situations where vampires use a maid against her will, this specific contract that is in my hand was made to record the entire contract process and send it to the government agency that oversees slave labor. That seems pretty safe, huh? Victor said that, but inwardly, he was laughing at the irony. After all, vampires treat humans like cattle in this world. As he was jumping from building to building on his way back to Skathaka's mansion, and saw several situations of humans being used only as merchandise. Like the ancient humans. This situation revolted him, but he wouldn't go out of his way and cause problems because of unknown people. Despite being revolting to Victor, he was curious about one thing. The noble vampires weren't using humans as a sex toy. They just seemed to use humans as a blood store. Victor thinks this is an effect of the mindset of noble vampires who think they are superior to humans. Noble vampires seem to be disgusted with seeing a human as an equal, and they just treat humans like animals or food. It's the same thing that happens in the human world. Victor's thinking was that humans raise chicken, and after a few months of life, that chicken was killed and ended up on someone else's plate. The thought was the same: they were taking the humans and using them as a blood store. And another thing he realized with a brief look at the capital was that this type of market wasn't very popular in the vampire world. Yes, the market existed, but it was only frequented by young vampires. Victor thinks this is because of the ritual he went through since he realized that most vampires were married, though Victor doubts that plebeian vampires who were once human will think the same way as noble vampires. But all the plebeian vampires I saw were treated like slaves. Plebeian vampires were slaves, and they had no autonomy in this world. They were at the bottom of the hierarchy. Victor felt an irony in this situation. Humans were being treated much better than plebeian vampires. I think it's the difference in value. Humans, despite being treated like animals, all they need to do is give blood regularly to vampires, and the human will live a good life. On the other hand, plebeian vampires were just slaves for bored vampires to abuse. Yeah. We are a civilized society. We do not enslave our fellow men. Kaka. Victor started laughing like crazy with the irony said by Kaguya without her knowing, and he couldn't hold back his laughter. Master? Excuse me. It's nothing, Kaguya. He displayed a small smile. Okay. Kaguya takes the golden paper and throws it towards Victor. Victor raises his arms and grabs the paper, then he analyzes the golden paper for a few seconds. My contract is simple: don't do anything that harms my family or me. To put it in precise words, actions like divulging information to enemies, actions like planning a betrayal, actions that in any way will harm my family will not be allowed. The paper began to glow and began to float, and soon the words Victor spoke were written. Only that? Kaguya was internally surprised. She expected 10 paragraphs of boring rules. But, instead, what Victor said is just the basics of the basics. Oh. I forgot the most important rule. He exhibited a small smile. The maid can't deny the master's head pat. Kaguya's cheek turned a little red. It's not like she wanted to deny this treatment either. Oh, I almost forgot. The maid should always ensure her safety first. Kaguya's face distorted when she heard Victor's last order. Do you agree with these terms? Master. I can't accept the last one. The main duty of a maid is to keep the master safe. Victor exhibited a gentle smile. I know. And that's a dangerous thought. I'd rather die than let someone close to me die in my place. I would feel devastated if my favorite maid died in my place. He joked at the end, but Kaguya could tell he was being very serious. Kaguya didn't know how to react. It goes against what she was created to be. Kaka. Don't overthink. Do you accept or not? I dash. She didn't know what to say. Victor continued, you're free to do whatever you want. I just want you not to betray me. And I just want you to put your safety first, especially considering your power is good at running away. right? Kaguya felt a warm feeling in her heart. It was such a sweet and gentle feeling that she didn't know how to react. This was the first time anyone cared about her, other than Julia, Sasha's personal maid who died by hunters. She was happy. But she didn't know how to express her emotions. Sigh. She just visibly sighed. I accept. By accepting this contract, she was going against what she was created to be, a maid who sacrifices herself for her master. Soon the golden paper catches fire and disappears. As soon as the paper disappeared, Kaguya could feel a magical current around her heart. But for some reason, she didn't feel like she was trapped or that her freedom was threatened. It was a weird feeling. Looking into Victor's crimson eyes, she flashes a professional smile, holds her uniform skirt, and gives an elegant greeting. I hope this partnership will last for a long time. My master. Edited by is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 78, The Game Day. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon the day of the game between Sasha's Aunt Victoria Ryder against the leader of the clan horsemen arrived. As it was an important and festive occasion for Nightingale society, women and men can be seen in elegant clothes walking around the capital. The capital was in a party mood, and the bored vampires couldn't wait to see what kind of game it would be. But one thing was certain, they were eager for it to be a fight. After all, it's very rare for two clans with the level of a vampire count's power to fight each other. Security is tighter than before. Violet spoke as she looked around. She was wearing a black dress with a violet flower on her chest, along with long black socks and black boots. Around her neck, a black choker could be seen. TSK, I don't like this. I feel like something is going to happen. Sasha was quite impatient. She was wearing more modern clothes, a pair of black jeans, a plain white shirt, and a black coat. She had pinned her long blonde hair, which had grown in those 6 months, in a ponytail. Just smile, girls. Look at our husband. He doesn't look worried. Ruby spoke with a fake smile on her face. Like Violet, Ruby opted for a simple red dress with black accents, the only difference being that Ruby chose a slightly bigger dress because she didn't like people looking at her body, although even wearing a little bigger dress, the chest and ass areas were still a little tight. Victor didn't say anything and just continued with a small, simple smile on his face as he walked in front of the group. He was wearing the outfit he got from Scathach. The only difference was that he was wearing elegant red glasses that were rather old-looking. He found these glasses in Scathach's personal bedroom, and he thought it would be a good idea to use them to disguise the use of his eye powers. After all, when he used his powers, his eyes glowed a very visible blood red. The current group was separated from the other girls, and Victor was with Violet, Ruby, Sasha, Maria, and Yuki. Following through his shadows was Kaguya. She decided to accompany Victor through the shadows to provide information when needed. The other group, Scathach, Ruby, Sienna, Eleanor, and Luna, were already waiting in the VIP room. Victor and his wives took a while to get ready because they were too lazy to get out of bed. Maria, stay close, or you'll get lost, Victor spoke without turning back as he continued walking. Maria, who was walking a little way away from the group, was speechless. Is he treating me like a child? She thought. Yes, Lord Victor, Maria replied as she approached the group closer. He. Violet approaches Victor and grabs his arm. You look excited, darling. Oh. You noticed? Of course, I know everything about you. Ha ha ha. He laughed amusedly when he heard Violet's words, then he replied. Yes. Indeed. I'm excited. Sasha, seeing Violet's attitude, wanted to do the same, but she was embarrassed. She wasn't shameless enough to take Victor's arm in the middle of so many people. Ruby walks elegantly beside Victor and takes his arm. Oh. Victor exhibited a small smile. I thought you would be embarrassed. I am, but you're my husband, so it's okay. Hedot, seeing the teasing little smile on Victor's face, her cheeks took on a healthy little shade of red. Sasha bites her lip when she sees this situation. Because of her shame, she couldn't take the initiative. When she was going to enter a sea of negative thoughts, she suddenly felt comforting emotions coming from Victor through their connection. "Don't think nonsense, dear," Victor spoke without looking back. "Just take your time." Sasha was a little surprised, but she exhibited a small gentle smile. She nodded. "Master, you're a philanderer, you always know where to attack, huh?" Victor heard Kagaya's voice in his head. "What are you talking about?" "I just worry about my wives." He spoke in a low voice, being close to Victor. His wives heard what he said, but they ignored it since they knew that Kagaya was in his shadow. Although they were curious about what they were talking about, they seemed to be talking about them. Kagaya didn't know how to react to Victor's honest words. "Master, we have arrived." Yuki suddenly spoke out loud. In a VIP room reserved only for the family of vampire counts, Skathaka's group was waiting for Victor. Suddenly, all the women hear the sound of a door opening. "Victor, you arrived. You guys were late, huh?" Skathak says. She looks at the glasses Victor was wearing and nods in satisfaction. Victor looks at Skathak, who was sitting on an ice throne in her usual clothes. "It can't be helped. I felt like the bed was a quicksand of comfort, so I didn't want to get out of bed," he replied. She displayed a seductive smile. "I hope you treated my daughter well." Mother." Ruby's face turned red with embarrassment. "What?" "I just asked that because you are so lazy in the morning." She displayed an innocent smile. "Well, she's not wrong, and Ruby also sleeps naked, so," Lakis commented with a small smile. "Some things must definitely have happened." Sienna smiled. Awawawa, Pepper just had smoke coming out of her head. She seemed to be thinking about something she shouldn't. "Why you guys?" Ruby didn't know what to say, and, in the end, she just sighed. "Ha ha ha, don't tease my wife so much." Victor walks beside Skathak. He snaps his fingers, and soon an ice throne a little different from Skathak begins to be created. "Oh. You got better at creating ice structures. All thanks to your training." He flashed a small smile, then sat down on the ice throne and crossed his legs. "Kakaka, I know." She laughed. The women looked at the two with a speechless expression. "Why did you create these ice thrones? Can't you guys just sit in the chair?" Sasha asked as she pointed to two simple but rather elegant chairs. "Hell no. I will not sit in that simple chair." The two spoke in unison with a face of disgust. The group was silent. They just didn't know how to react. This was the VIP room, and it was equipped with the finest furniture in the vampire world, yet they called these luxurious seats a simple chair. Somehow, the women were already more used to this scene. They were slowly accepting the fact that Skathak was creating a male version of her, and the only one that was freaking out internally was Eleanor. She had never seen another person so similar to her master. The group spreads out and starts to sit on the chairs and sofas in the VIP room. Victor looks through the glass of the VIP room towards the arena. "Hasn't started yet, huh?" He spoke in a low tone, then he looked at the arena with curious eyes. Seeing the plebeian vampires sitting in the stands, he began to inspect everyone. "That one over there is strong, that one over there is hiding his powers." He looked at all the vampires who he had an interest in and judged their strength. After being trained by Skathak for so long, he could somehow evaluate a person's level based on behavior and a feel that surrounds the vampire. It's something very difficult to put into words, but it's something like a warrior can know if the other warrior is strong or not. Sensing a glance in his direction, he turned his face and looked at another VIP room through the glass. The eyes behind his glasses started to glow, and his world turned blood red. He focused his attention on the individual who had a large red aura surrounding them. Victor's smile grew distorted. "Oh. Did you find anyone interesting?" Skathak looks to where Victor was looking. "If I'm not mistaken, that room is where Victoria's family is." Skathak spoke. "My aunt?" Sasha gets up from the couch and walks beside Victor. She looks where Victor is looking but doesn't see anything. she just sees a normal room with totally black glass. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Victor turned his face and ignored them for the time being. He looked into another VIP room and saw a woman and a child sitting in a chair. They were both alone in the room, but Victor could see several vampires protecting the place outside. Victor found something interesting with the child. She had a very distorted aura, as if two colors were mixed incorrectly. The child suddenly looked towards Victor and then disappeared. Victor was confused. She disappeared. Do not tell me. Soon Victor could feel someone sitting on his lap. Father. Seeing the child in the gothic dress, he displayed a gentle smile. Hello, Office. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/VictorWeissman. More characters images in, /4FETZAF, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 79, The Game Day. 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Father. Seeing the child in the gothic dress, he displayed a gentle smile. Hello, Office. He stroked the little girl's head. Victor leans her head on his chest and closes his eyes. He. Father. She shook her head from side to side. She looked like a spoiled child who found her father and wanted a hug. Father. Violet, Ruby, and Sasha almost choked. Kaka Scat was laughing like crazy. Hey, what are you doing? Get off him. Violet's jealousy didn't discriminate between gender or age. In a way, Violet's jealousy was true gender equality. Stop, Violet. Don't touch her. Scat suddenly stops laughing and warns Violet with a serious look, but Violet ignored Scat warning and held onto Office's body. Suddenly Violet stops moving, and her eyes go blank as if she were dead. Violet. Ruby and Sasha spoke at the same time. Sigh. Stupid girl, I warned you. Victor's eyes glittered dangerously when he saw Violet's state. He looked at Office, seeing the little girl's apologetic face. He sighed, he patted the little girl's head, and looked at Scat. What is this? She'll be fine soon, don't worry. Scat first soothed Victor's emotions, then she continued. That's what happens when Office is touched. She was born with a special condition that charms everyone who touches her. And she also sees the memories of the people who touch her. Victor strokes the little girl's head. Now he understands why she lived isolated. For a child, it is difficult to see the memories of vampires who live for many years. Are you okay? Father memory. Good. She leans her face against Victor's chest again. Suddenly, Violet's face distorted into anger, and she breaks the spell. Oh. It was faster than normal. Scat spoke with curiosity. Violet looks at the girl with angry eyes. Don't look at her like that. She's not to blame, you're the one who didn't listen to me. Scat spoke. Violet closes her hands and opens them several times. Soon, she lets out a long breath, sigh. Okay. Why is this little girl here again? She asked in a neutral tone. Are you okay, honey? Victor asked. Office's body trembled slightly when she heard the way Victor called Violet. Yes. I am. Why is she here? She asked again. I don't know, she just came out of the blue, Victor replied. He understood that Violet's mood was not good. Are you okay, darling? She asked with apprehensive eyes. After all, she personally felt the powers of Office. Yeah, I don't feel anything, Victor spoke honestly. He didn't feel anything, and he also didn't feel like someone was reading his memories, though he wasn't sure what kind of feeling it would be if someone read his memories. Everyone except Victor, who was looking at Office, looked to Scat for answers. Don't look at me. I don't know either. Seeing the innocent smile on Scat face, everyone didn't believe her. This. Violet's eyes were glowing blood red when she saw the position Office was in, but even so, she didn't move. People who had known Violet for a long time were shocked by this display of control. They thought she wouldn't be able to stand it. Ruby and Sasha could tell from their connection that Violet was angry, but it was silent anger. It was anger mixed with possessive jealousy. Suddenly the door opens, and soon everyone can see a woman with long black hair and violet eyes. Violet turns her face, she looks at the woman looks into Violet's violet eyes, and, noticing Violet's obvious features, the woman could understand that she was someone from Clan Snow, and only one woman from Clan Snow had violet eyes. "Who are you, bitch?" Sigh. Everyone except Victor and Scat-Hack sighed when they heard what Violet said. "What a rude person, who are you?" She already knew who Violet was, but for some reason, she didn't want to lose this dispute. "I asked first." The woman didn't want to answer. "Princess, are you sure she's here? We must not enter this place in such a rude way." The guard was terrified. "Why are you afraid?" "Kaka, you're as clueless as ever, Elizabeth." Scat-Hack. The woman stuttered. Now she understood why the guard was scared. "How's that old man doing?" Scat-Hack spoke. "He's the king, you know. Do I have the face of someone who cares?" Elizabeth was speechless. She knew that the only person who could speak those words so casually was Scat-Hack, and for the sole reason that she was strong. Elizabeth ignores everyone and looks at the second ice throne. She walks a little to the left, and soon she sees Ophis lying on Victor's chest. Again. Did she find him because of the mark? She glanced at Victor, who was sitting on an ice throne, and then she looked around again, and seeing several women of high social standing, Elizabeth's curiosity was flickering frantically. She even tried to use the king's shadows to find information on Victor, but they didn't find anything, actually. They haven't returned yet, and she didn't think too much about why they haven't. They have been eliminated, or are being tortured. She thought. She knew Scat-Hack's personality well, and if someone broke into her house, that was the fate of fools who tried to break into her home. "Just who are you?" Victor looked at Elizabeth and flashed a small smile. "My name is Victor." "Didn't I say?" Elizabeth wanted to hit the ground in frustration now. "Bitch, don't look at him. You're going to infect him with some kind of dangerous disease." Violet spoke. "Huh." Veins began to pop in Elizabeth's head. She was a noble person and could ignore some insults, but she was not a saint who would take insults in silence. "Why don't you go away and take this child with you?" Violet didn't want to insult a child since even she knew it was something horrible. Though, the little girl didn't do anything. "Shoo, shoo." She spoke as if she were talking to a dog. "I'm still a princess, you know." She commented with a fake smile. "I can make you disappear." She couldn't finish her words. She suddenly felt very heavy, and an overwhelming feeling engulfed her entire body. Her body broke out in a cold sweat, and slowly, she turned her face away. When she looked into Victor's blood-red eyes that were visible even through the glasses he was wearing, her whole world seemed to go colorless. "Repeat what you said," Victor spoke with a cold tone that sent shivers down Elizabeth's spine. He could ignore arguments. After all, his wives did that constantly. He thinks it's a woman thing. But threats? Those he did not tolerate. I. Princess. The guards ran, but suddenly a much greater pressure than Victor fell on them. Quickly, they stopped walking and looked at Scat-Hack. "Good, if you took one more step, I would have to hand your heads over to the king." She flashed a crazy smile. Then, she snaps her fingers, and thorns of ice begin to hover over all the guards. They gulped and didn't dare move. Although they had a duty to protect the princess, they didn't want to lose their lives uselessly. They knew that if Scat-Hack killed them, nothing would happen to her. Disappointing. She hoped they would fight. Then, at least she would have an excuse to kill them all. Soon she lost interest in the guards and looked at Victor. She was interested in what he was going to do. "I'm waiting." He slowly tapped the ice throne with his finger, like he was counting. The sound of his finger touching the ice made the situation even more terrifying for Elizabeth. Elizabeth tried to ignore the fear in her heart and slowly began to gather her powers. Then, her eyes changed to blood red, and an overwhelming pressure began to leave her body. Oh, confidence restored, Elizabeth displays a cold smile, I'm still a princess. And I can make her disappear at any time, no matter if she's a daughter of Clan Snow or not. She repeated what she said and added the ending as if it were an absolute truth. Victor's eyes glowed brighter, and his pressure began to build. Everyone was expecting a fight to start at any moment, but something happened that left everyone with no reaction. Victor's pressure disappeared as if it had never existed. Ha 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 ha, he started laughing like crazy, and slowly he began to clap his hands. Good. Good. That's the spirit. If not, I would be disappointed. Ha. Elizabeth did not expect this. Violet, Ruby, and Sasha didn't know how to react, and that applied to all the women in this room, so they just watched everything in silence. Scathach just displayed a big smile on her face, she looked pleased with something. Believe me, princess. Victor's image began to blur. Before you can touch a strand of my wife's hair, you would die. Victor appeared behind Elizabeth and spoke in a low voice in her ear. Elizabeth's whole body froze in fear when she heard what Victor said, she couldn't even react to his speed. And she could also see that crazy woman was smiling as if supporting what Victor said. She couldn't move, she didn't even dare turn back now, she feared that if she turned around now, she might die. Edited by, is unavailable. If you want to support me and read advanced chapters, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in, /4fetzaf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it. Chapter 80, Everything is Connected. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Victor disappears behind Elizabeth and appears sitting on the ice throne he created. Fast. Ha 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 ha, did you like it, Ophis? She nodded. Is different. She pointed to herself. Yeah, what I did is something different than what you do. Different. Ophis seemed to be thinking deeply about something, but actually, she was just enjoying Victor's caresses. She seems attached to you, Victor. Scathach spoke. Yeah, but I don't care, she's cute. Victor displayed a gentle smile, realizing that Victor wasn't doing anything else. Elizabeth began to slowly calm down, not just her, everyone started to calm down. Fwa. Pepper lets out all the trapped air she's been holding, that was intense, I thought they would fight any second. She spoke in a low voice. Really? I really can't understand Victor anymore. He's becoming too unpredictable, this is bad for my heart. Lakis spoke in a joking tone to alleviate the situation. It's our mother's fault. It's all her fault. Sienna said. The three sisters agreed. I'm glad nothing happened. Yuki's heart was beating very fast, she didn't want to fight the king's family, that was just suicide. But as a vampire, she liked Victor's attitude. But that's something she'll never say out loud. What are you doing, Maria? Luna asked curiously. Nothing, Maria replied, she made a gesture with her hand, and soon, all the wires she had spread around the room began to be collected. She acted on instinct, but internally, she didn't know why she did it. Why was my first reaction was to try to protect that man? Is it because of the master's order? But the master didn't order me to protect Victor. Darling Violet had a silly smile on her face, she wanted to hug Victor, but that child. That child was stealing her place. Violet, we need to talk, Ruby spoke seriously. Heh. Violet didn't understand. Come here. We need to talk about something. Sasha grabbed Violet's right arm. Ruby approaches Violet and grabs her left arm, then the two women drag Violet to the corner of the room. W8. My darling. Shut up, we need to talk, Ruby spoke in a deadly serious tone. Violet was speechless, she had never seen that expression on Ruby. Soon the two wives started to lecture Violet. Calling the king's daughter a bitch was something above the level of disrespect. She needs to be more self-aware of her status. What if, because of her words, a political war broke out? Lots of vampires were going to die because of her decision. That was Sasha and Ruby's concern. As Ruby, Sasha, and Violet talked, Victor spoke. Princess, have you ever heard a Chinese proverb that said, because of a nail, the shoe was lost, because of the horse, the message was lost, because of the message, the war was lost? I've never heard of it. Elizabeth continued to speak as her eyes slowly turned to Violet. The lesson this proverb teaches is quite simple to understand. As he stroked Ophis' head, Victor looked up at Elizabeth with a small innocent smile on his face. Because of a mistake made by someone, an entire war was lost. Everything is connected. So remember, it only takes one small mistake for an entire empire to fall to ruin. Elizabeth felt her whole body go cold when she heard Victor's words. Is this a threat? Threat? PFFF. That's just advice coming from someone who learned from the best teacher in the world. Scat-Hack exhibited a small smile when she heard Victor's words. She didn't have time to teach Victor much. Still, one thing she made sure to teach was the mentality of a warrior who goes to war. After 6 months of intense torture and with a disciple willing to learn, can work miracles. Elizabeth was silent. I see. I will remember this. Then she turns her face away and looks at Scat-Hack, Ruby, and Sasha. What is your relationship with them? They are my wives. He replied. WWH. She thought for a moment that she was deaf. He pointed to Scat-Hack. She's my mother-in-law and my teacher. Hi, I'm his mother-in-law. She spoke with a gentle smile as she waved her hand. Elizabeth didn't know how to react when she saw Scat-Hack playing. He pointed to the 3 sisters. Those are my friends over there. Oh, you can exclude Sienna. She's not my friend at all. Pfft. Pepper almost started to laugh but stopped when she saw Sienna's gaze. Lakis shook her head when she saw her sister's attitude. That one is my maid. He pointed at Yuki. Yuki made a simple gesture of respect. He looked at Maria and flashed a small smile as if he understood something. She's Sasha's maid. Maria repeated Yuki's gesture. Victor looks at the guards, who still have ice spikes at their throats, and ignores the men. T3. Elizabeth tries to process everything she has heard. He is married to 2 heiresses of houses with the title of Count, and a former heir to the title of Count. And he is the disciple of Scat-Hack. Elizabeth was speechless. If he were just Scat-Hack's disciple, she wouldn't mind. After all, the millennia-old woman has many disciples. But he's married to this crazy woman's heiress too. Kaka, she broke completely. Scat-Hack chuckled when he saw Elizabeth's expression. Are you sure about telling the princess about your relationship with these women? Do I look like I care? It's not like it's a secret. Kaka, you're right. Remembering something he wanted to talk to her, Victor said, Scat-Hack, don't overdo it. What do you mean? Don't eliminate the rats, just torture them. Oh. Do you know? Victor just pointed to his eyes. This is a very convenient skill. Indeed. Why don't you want me to eliminate the rats? It's a waste. Waste? Yeah. If they're dead, we can't fight them. Why didn't you kidnap them and use them as a training puppet for your daughters? After all, they are strong. Scat-Hack looked at Victor as if she were looking at a genius. Fuck, why didn't I ever think about it? She puts her hand to her forehead in disbelief. You're very overprotective. I love that about you, but you need to let your daughters train a little, Victor commented casually. He also wanted to fight those men she eliminated. Scat-Hack looked at Victor with a neutral expression. Did he really not understand what he just said? ZZZZZZZZZZZ. Victor looked at his chest. Did she sleep? I think you will become a good father in the future, Scat-Hack commented, and for a few seconds, her green eyes sparkled a little. She was clearly planning something. Elizabeth stops thinking bullshit and looks at Ophis. and, seeing Ophis sleeping peacefully on a stranger's chest, the only thing she can think of seeing Ophis' current state is, I hope the father doesn't see this, he's going to freak out. Ladies and gentlemen. Suddenly everyone heard the voice of the advertiser. The game between Clan Rider and Clan Horseman is about to begin. Finally. Victor said he hoped to see something interesting. Hearing the advertiser's voice, the women stopped what they were doing and looked out into the arena. Everyone, including the audience, was soon able to see 4 individuals walking towards the middle of the arena. That's my aunt. Oh. Victor looked at the woman who was walking towards the middle of the arena. He could feel that this was the same woman who was in the VIP room a little way away from him. The woman had long blonde hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a long elegant black dress. She had a gentle smile on her face as she walked towards the center. Victor examines the woman up and down and then looks at Sasha. Then, seeing the obvious differences in the chest, legs, and ass areas, he asked with genuine curiosity. Is she really your aunt? He couldn't help asking that question. The woman was just very different from Sasha, and the only things alike were her hair and blue eyes. Yeah, she's a lot like my mom as usual. Sasha replied as she looked at her aunt. Victor was speechless. Genes are an unfair thing sometimes. He spoke in a low voice. What are you looking at, darling? Ruby asked with narrowed eyes. I was just admiring how beautiful my wives are. He smiled. Ruby was a little embarrassed, but she was getting used to her husband's charm. She won't fall so easy. Victor flashed a small smile and snapped his fingers, and then soon, 3 more ice thrones were created beside him. Feel free. He pointed to the thrones. Sasha, who was closest to Victor, sat next to him, Violet sat next to Sasha, and Ruby sat next to Violet. Kaka, they complained so much, and in the end, they did the same thing. Scat-Hack laughed. Victor exhibited a small smile and stroked Ophis' hair, who was sleeping on his chest. Then he looked at the arena again. He saw that a rather tall man was heading towards the center of the arena. The game was starting. Edited by is unavailable. If you want to support me so that I can pay artists to illustrate the characters in my novel, visit my Patreon, patreon.com/victorweissman. More characters images in /4fetzf, like it? Add to library. Don't forget to vote to support the book if you like it.